Hello, and today I will be presenting on my initial trades on Interactive Brokers Trader Workstation. So asset class selection, I chose both equities and options. I chose stocks because given the limited time in the market, I wanted to choose an asset class that would potentially see sufficient movement so that we could get the full extent of this exercise. And then we also, I also chose options because I wanted to take it a step further and learn something new. I didn't know anything about options, how they worked, how to implement them. So I dove into some tutorials and videos online to learn about this asset class and how to actually trade it. And then I took it one step further, to learn how to implement a couple of different option strategies. So I learned about spreads and an iron condor. And another constraint I had was the technical one. I had to learn how to use Interactive Brokers, Trader Workstation, and Refinitiv. So a good portion of this week was spent learning our tools and clicking around so that we could get the full extent here. So the trades that I placed, I did learn how to export the flex queries. However, it's Tuesday night about 9 p.m. and still not available to export the flex query that is inclusive of today's trading day. And I did do it a few times for up to yesterday to make sure I learned how to do that. But I found another feature on the Interactive Brokers website that allowed me to see the trades that were placed, and it included sufficient data that we want to look at. So here we have for Atlas Lithium Core and Oracle about 500 shares of Atlas and 100 shares of Oracle at these prices and when they were filled. Also bought 3 iron condors. We could see those trades here. They were for Netflix, Costco, and NVIDIA. My strategy for this exercise, well, for the stocks, I chose stocks that would potentially see, well, that they were in growing sectors. So for Oracle, the AI, cloud computing, that sector, we've seen some growth. Lithium for Atlas Core, it's a growing industry as well. One added thing that I was looking at when I was finding my niche was that they were both going to report earnings during my trading time frame. One of the lessons that I learned is that in hindsight, really I was just gambling. Even though I had a strong suspicion that they were going to report positive earnings, they ended up not doing so hot. So that was, resembled more gambling than trading, but lesson learned. And for the Iron Condor, again, I really wanted to learn how to implement this strategy, so I took the opportunity to really dive in the nitty-gritty, watched hours of videos on how this works. Still learning, but I have a much firmer grasp on it now than I did, say, 3 days ago. So that was pretty awesome feeling. Here's just the same thing we're talking about with respect to Oracle and Atlas. But yeah, I really thought, Atlas, given that they had a lot of recent investments and in the growth of the company, that they were going to see some positive movement. And then with Oracle, really this just validates my take on the market bubble, right? Whether there is or isn't one. I hypothesized that there wasn't a market bubble, but that rather some of these tech stocks like the top 7 in the S&P 500 that saw these rallies, Oracle's in the same boat, that they were just overvalued right now, and that as they continue to progress and we would see their reports and their performance, that we would just see a correction. And I think we saw an example of that with Oracle's earnings reports for this quarter. For my trade out, right, when I closed my Oracle and Atlas stocks, here we have the selling prices. As you can see, we sold them at a loss. I did try to close out of my my iron condors. However, another lesson that I learned was the liquidity of options trading, and that if you have like low liquidity, you're not going to necessarily be able to exit those positions at really on your terms. You might have to execute more of a market price, but I think that there's still potential for these iron condors to pan out. So I tried to release that position for the better part of an hour, lowering the price, and that's when I learned about the liquidity issue. And here we just see Costco and NVIDIA, but I also tried the Netflix one. And I chose one of the criteria for choosing these, rather than looking for a stock with potentially high volatility, I think that these are overall trending more sideways, and it decided that after not being able to sell them, to maintain them, because I think there's possibility that they may stay within, within my spread and my pan out. So, let's see what happens. Here's a visual representation of what happened to the Oracle and Atlas Lithium Core stocks from when I bought the stock to when I exited the position and for the rest of the trading day. As you can see, steep decline. So it was not a good day for me with respect to my stock positions. But, smooth seas never made for a skilled sailor. So we're doing all right. This is my average price spot for my and sold for both of those stocks. As you can see, we're in the red. We're in the red, but we're learning. We're learning. As far as risk and mitigation, the earnings report could cause a lot of volatility, as we saw on the previous slide. I try to mitigate that by focusing in completely different sectors. Well, maybe not completely different, but they were different sectors. For those stocks, for the options contract, they could require a longer period to profit. I opted for a 30-day options contract, and I was looking for stocks that had, maybe like a moderate implied volatility. Still also learning if I assess that correctly. But relatively speaking, I think I did all right in choosing those. And then wasn't widely diversified as far as my positions, but there was a bit of diversification across, where I was positioned as far as like the stocks and options that I chose, like for the companies. So we had a mix of both asset classes using equities and derivatives, but also a mix of sectors that we were positioned in. Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to keep learning and to evolve over the course of the next couple or few months.